Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. I'm Kristi Shive, and this morning we're visiting with Alivia Faris. She's Family and Consumer Sciences Agent in Scott County. What are some of the leading causes of foodborne illness?
A lot of activities where we might not have a refrigerator or the best hand washing stations or things like that, there's a lot to consider. And foodborne illness can occur not only after the food's been prepared, it can happen anywhere from the farm to your plate. One of the number one things when we look at foodborne illness is a failure to cool food properly or to store food properly. Another issue, we don't keep it cold enough, we don't keep it hot enough, or we don't get it up to that hot temperature that we needed it at in the first place. Unfortunately, another cause of foodborne illness is it's infected by the food handler. That's either failure to wash hands, failure to keep hair tied back. Maybe they did not pay attention to the expiration date. That could entail using the cutting boards from meat and vegetables and not washing in between. It could also be where raw food was cooked with uncooked foods and raw foods were mixed together. So, for example, I know in the summertime we love the grill, but we need to try to make sure we're not putting our raw meats and our raw vegetables right there on the same plate with all those juices mixing together. And then also food being left inside the danger zone for too long of a time. We also have some pests that are going to approach our meal. So keeping dishes covered is very important. Another thing is if a food needs to be cold, we need to set it on ice and make sure it actually is staying cold. And if a food needs to be warm, trying our best to keep it warm, whether that's keeping it wrapped up really well or having some kind of hot plate or something like that. Now, I know there's not always electric access for that. However, I strongly recommend that after 2 hours, any food that is left out is thrown away because at that point, the bacterial growth is going to be astronomical.
What can we do when it comes to preparing this food?
Washing hands, keeping your hair tied back. If you're feeling ill, consider purchasing an item instead of preparing it, and then also using ingredients that are fresh to begin with. And so during the transporting process, there's a lot of things to consider. If a food is cold, we're going to put it in a cooler for number one. Make sure that you line the bottom with ice, then put the item in, and then also surround it in ice. Sometimes if we just set a dish on top of the ice in the cooler, it's not maintaining an even cold temperature throughout. Also, keeping a cooler full actually keeps it much colder. If your food is hot, keeping it in an insulated bag or some kind of insulated wrap. Once you're at the location, if your hot food, it's going to be a little while before you're eating it, try to put it on a hot plate or on a burner or an oven. And then if it's cold, try to find some refrigeration, refresh your ice and try to keep it cold until it's time to eat it. If you saw someone touching their face and then giving you your food at your table, you would probably be a little appalled by that. But then for some reason, when we have family gatherings or friend gatherings, all of that seems to go out the window because we're like, oh, that's family. It's not a big deal. But I'm here to tell you, it is still a big deal. Whenever we're serving food at these potlucks, make sure that you are keeping tongs and spoons separated. Try not to double dip throughout dishes. Don't be on your phone. Our phones actually harbor a lot of bacteria. Also, having hand sanitizer at the family potluck can be really helpful. And then also making sure that we keep the serving utensils off the ground, off of the table. That spoon that's setting out is not staying at a hot or cold temperature, right? So the food particles that are on it are going to harbor bacteria. Having some spoon rest for things to set on, or have a way to keep the spoon clean between use. Having some hair ties or rubber bands if you're going to be serving food. And then even having gloves handy and available at family potlucks are a few steps we can take to help make it safer. So keeping food stored in an airtight container, immediately putting things in the refrigerator after 2 hours, and then consuming them is very important. If you don't think you can eat it within 3 days, then you need to freeze that item.
If you would like more information on food safety, be sure to contact your local extension office. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.